Great. It is live. We are live right now. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the last section of the global domination. We have my friend here who is going to be taking us on the how to create multiple sources of income. My friend's name is Todd Sullivan. He has a BA degree in American Studies. He worked at Syracuse University, IBM, Corning Incorporated, and Alstom Transportation. Mr. Todd is a very nice human being who looks out for every young person and shines his light to all of us. And this is a total privilege to have him here to speak with all of us. He's currently retired and living with his wife in Texas, USA. So I'll be inviting him right now to take over. Hi, Todd. You can go on.
Hi there.
Hi.
Okay, so we're going to be able to do the slide share, or shall I simply? Probably not. We've been working on some interesting technical issues and finding out. I tend to use Firefox as my browser. Chrome seems to be the thing that this application likes better. So I'm gonna simply do the presentation verbally.
Sure.
So MSIs are multiple sources of income. It's a way to increase your overall income.
Okay.
In most cultures, ordinary people have one source of income, and that's their job. There's a guy named Bob Proctor of the Proctor Gallagher Institute who noticed that people who really get ahead in life often have more than one source of income. So MSIs, multiple sources of income, has become part of the success formula. And if you look at MSIs and what you'd like to have in terms of their characteristics, of course, the first thing is you'd like to have predictable periodic income. Also just be a reliable source of income. And it's important that you have minimal investment. It's not always a requirement if you have money, but most of us who are starting out don't have lots of money, so that's an important characteristic.
Yeah.
It's great if the income is residual, which really means that you either do a bunch of work up front and then the income continues to flow after you've done that, or you don't have to do much work at all. And there are both options available. The final thing is that you want the income to be legal. Sometimes people forget about that, but that's important. So let's talk about your primary source of income for just a moment. This source should meet your regular needs as much as possible. That's the money that you need to live month to month. Typically, it's in the form of your job, but it could be another kind of income. If you're lucky enough to have money that you've invested, and your investment is paying off well, then that might be a source, for example. But typically, it's one or the other. I went through thinking about my life and the different kinds of MSIs that I've had. And I'm going to talk about each of these in a little bit more detail. So a second job. I have several hobbies. So hobby income is another one. I actually am a writer and I do photography. And so those are also sources of income. Social media influencer, which is something I've not done, but which is very much in the world today. At one point, we worked with people who were in academia, so universities doing research, and that's another source of income. You can start your own business. You can also invest money and have income that way. So let's take a look at each one of these. The second job usually is predictable and reliable. It's not residual. Typically, it has low investment. But basically, you're trading your time and effort for money. Just you do it as you do with your primary job. Typically, the second job will be fewer hours per week and at a lower rate of pay. The one thing that's difficult is that it takes time away from your free time you could be spending on other things. So there's positives and negatives about a second job. Hobby income. one of my hobbies, it's one of my passions actually, is trains. And I've been a model railroader since I was 14 years old, and I'm lots older than that now. So over 60 years. I built models and try to make money. I built models for other modelers, but I take too long in building each model, and that's because I research the subject. A model is always a model of some real thing, and so I research the real thing, and I probably put too much time into that, and then I spent extra time building the model beyond what the kit. Usually, we work from a kit of parts, so I would build beyond what the kit required. So that was, and typically I could sell models for about $100 or so.
Wow.
Putting in, 3-4 weeks of work building the one model, that's not a great return on the time invested.
Yeah.
I've written over 40 articles. Some of them are product reviews. A lot of them were how to build models and other sorts of things. I took a lot of photographs to illustrate those. And for a while, that brought in a little over $1,000 a year. If I was being able to write and be able to get published 3-4 articles a year. The articles typically paid, and I'm going back into the 70s and early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. The magazines were paying about $300 to $400 per article. And that's probably about 4 pages in a magazine with photos.
Wow.
But that, again, is not going to really increase your income overall. I wrote and edited a 120-page book of photographs about one particular railroad's equipment. It was a fun project. I was given the material by the publisher, by the editor, and actually he was the publisher, I guess is the better term. And because I was still working for IBM, I sat on it for a few months. And then he came to me and he said, look, I purchased, and this is the way the business works, I purchased 13 publication slots with printers
Wow.
and bubbles a year. The guy who's supposed to deliver a book in June says there's no way he can do it. His job situation's changed. Can you do it? And I said, well, give me a couple of days to figure out what my rate of production could be. So I sat down and I wrote one section of the book. Back, yeah, if I work really hard and if you help me, which he said he would do, he said, I think I can meet your deadline. So in 6 weeks, I wrote selected photographs, wrote captions for each of them, and wrote an introduction to the book, and it took it to him. And that book earned me $3,000. He pays less for those books now. And I, for a short while, considered making that my life. But my wife at the time told me that because I was working from about 8 a.m. until I was too tired to see my computer screen and type. So I was, after dinner, I would sit down and I'd do the research for the next day's topic. But I was going from about 8 a.m. until about 9 or 10 at night, 7 days a week. We had 2 little kids at that point. And she said, I don't want you doing this for your livelihood. It just takes too much time.
Yeah.
And I figured out if I did a book every 6 months, that would only be $6,000 a year in income. And that was not going to support me and my family.
True.
I've also given a lot of lectures, and I still do that, and I consider that to be a lot of fun. It's a way that I give back to the hobby. But I don't get paid for those. Some people who've been magazine editors do, but I don't. I also, for a while, was consulting for a group of model manufacturers, and typically they don't pay you in cash. They pay you in what are sometimes called barter goods. So they'll give you some of their products. Not everybody does that, but ones that I did a lot of work with did. So unfortunately, hobby income is usually not a way to have a substantial secondary income. So I have never been a social media influencer, but I've read a lot about that. And it seems to me it involves daily research and online updates, because that's how you are doing your influencing.
Yeah.
From what I can tell, or sometimes free products from the people you're influencing for, and sometimes money. I suspect that the income varies, and I think you need to maintain your popularity and your relevance to the market that you're serving, all of which takes a lot of effort. So while I think that can be a viable source of income in the current environment, current technology that we have,
Yeah.
involves a lot of work. It really is a second job. Uh, my wife and I had a company for about 7 years, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But we worked with people in different universities who were doing academic research, and we were looking to help them take the results of their research in terms of product into the marketplace. Um,
Yeah.
so I got an insight into that. To do academic research, you really need to obtain and hold a position in academia. So you need to be a professor. You probably need to teach as well as to do the research, and you need to stay current in your field if you're going to do
Yeah.
that, which takes effort, going to conferences. Um, you need to publish, which is another, and a lot of times people use their research as their source of material for publishing. Everybody we worked with was always applying for research grants all the time. So that's a nonstop activity. And the grants, from what we saw, may pay you well or not. And part of that depends upon whether you are the what's called a primary investigator or PI in the project, or whether you're simply a graduate assistant or some kind of intern. The pay is very different there. The grants may pay well also if you're able to commercialize what you discovered, but that's unusual. And oftentimes the university you work for takes the first rights on all the patents that you create. So that's hard work. It is a possible secondary source of income.
Okay.
I have three examples of that. My wife is Chinese. My wife and
Okay.
I did that between 2012 and 2019. Our company was TechBridge International. Basically, the tagline that I developed was we were helping small and medium-sized businesses in upstate New York, where we lived, find appropriate trusted partners in China, and also vice versa. We were working with companies, individuals, and government organizations in China interested in trying to get into the U.S. market. We spent a lot of money, my wife's money. We helped a few people and a few companies, a few government organizations. Had a lot of fun. We did probably between 15 and 20 tours of Chinese officials and individuals to New York State, neighboring Canada. And I made 13 trips to China and learned a great deal about Chinese culture. And I knew nothing about that when we started, and also made a lot of friends in China. And I still have quite a few of those friends. It's a lot of work. We really didn't make very much money because we were always in the middle between the two clients. And they, of course, didn't want to pay us. They wanted to work with one another, so they wanted us out of the way. So it was a difficult business to be in. Another thing we found was that, particularly with the Chinese organizations, was that if you set a price the first time you had, for example, one of the tours, if you set a price for that, and they were always customized tours, they always had business objectives for each of these. So we had to find companies and people to satisfy their business objectives. But if we set a price the first time, the next time they came through, they wanted a lower price. And the third time would be an even lower price. So we kind of had a situation of diminishing returns for the work that we did. So that was actually our primary business, but we struggled to make money. The second situation is I have four younger brothers, and my next down brother is Tim. And he had a partner for a while whose name was Dick. And I think between about 1997 and 2012, they had two companies that made rope. This was synthetic yarn type rope, so nylon and other kinds of synthetic materials. The companies were called Viking Rope and Puget Sound Rope. They started out, and I should give you a bit of insight into the skills of these people because that was very important in their success. Dick had been working at a company that did braiding, and had braiding machines. And I went there and saw some of the braiding machines, and they were all cast iron and looked like they'd been made in about 1860. So very old technology. But Dick was very smart, and he worked for that company for probably 10 years and learned a lot about the industry. And he also was very good in terms of being able to do good financial management. My brother was kind of the other side of things. He was a guy who could fabricate anything. He knew how to weld and how to put things together and how to paint things, and also how to test things. So Tim brought a lot of practical fabrication skills to the partnership. They bought a couple of machine tools, so lathes and drill presses, and loaded up an old panel truck that they bought, and they drove themselves out to Hollywood, North Hollywood, California, which is the suburb of Los Angeles, and created Viking rope. They spent 18 months designing and building new braiding equipment, and Dick's deal was that he was going to use what he called space age materials, so aluminum alloys and new plastics. And the braiding machines they made were absolutely amazing and definitely 100, 150 years beyond what the ones I saw in his original company he worked for. But for 18 months, they designed and built these machines. That was before they actually started making rope. And they did make rope. They could make continuously braided rope, which was something that was unusual. And Dick incorporated all sorts of mechanical and technical checks, quality checks in the system. So that and you make rope by, first of all, taking the fibers, which come they're as small as a hair, and you twist those together. And they actually bought twisting machines in Germany. And then you take the twisted fibers and you twist them into larger fibers, and then you take those fibers and you braid them together. So there's a lot of opportunities for things to go wrong. Material to get caught up in the machines, strands of fiber to break, running out of a supply of fiber on your twisting machine. Because of the automation that Dick built into their machinery, they had a much lower amount of human labor involved. So they were able to, they had a really good markup, but they had no company sales force. So they had to rely on salespeople who were selling rope from all sorts of manufacturers to customers who needed it. And largely what the size of rope that Tim and Dick did with Viking rope was what they call yachting cordage. So it was for sailboats and other kinds of boats. And they sold the company after about 5 or 6 years. And they made several $1 million doing that. The industry said that they made the best quality rope that you could buy. But the sales force, they were competing. Salespeople would sell what they thought was the best rope to the customer, not necessarily Viking's rope. So that was a big problem for them. So they took their several $1 million and moved up to north of Seattle to a nice little town called Anacortes, Washington on Puget Sound, and created Puget Sound rope. And they built new braiders, and they were restricted by non-compete clauses for making anything smaller than 2 inch. So they went from 2.5 inch up to 4 inch double braided. They proceeded to run Puget Sound rope for probably a good 10 or 12 years. And then Tim's partner, Dick, fell in love with a woman, and they decided to get married. And Dick sold his house and he bought a motor yacht, and they moved on a motor yacht. And after a while, Dick decided he wanted to cruise the oceans of the world on this new motor yacht with his new wife and not have to worry about business. So he talked to her, and they decided to sell the company. So they made a few more million. But the combination of their skills and their persistence and their ability to spend 18 months at the beginning designing and building new equipment, I think with Puget Sound rope, it probably took them about 9 months to a year to build all the equipment they needed. To give you some idea of what continuous braided rope means, I asked them one time, I said, what's the longest piece you've ever braided? 22,000 feet of rope, 2.5-inch rope. And I said, what on earth was that for? They were stringing high tension electrical cables over this very rugged area in northern Washington state called the North Cascades. The only way they could build the transmission towers, the towers that carried the transmission wires, was to use a helicopter to bring in the materials and use helicopters to bring in the assembly crews. So they would use a helicopter to feed the Puget Sound rope, the 22,000 feet from tower to tower to tower, and they would use that to haul the actual electrical cable across those towers.
Yeah.
So that's business. That was the second start your own business, and they did very well because Dick really knew how to run the business from a financial point of view, and he had a lot of connections in the industry. And Tim was the guy who could make anything, who could build just about anything, make anything work. It's not to be missed here that if you're going to start your own business, you really want to have complementary skills with your partners, and it will take more than just one person.
Okay.
So,
Compliment.
another kind of business that people think about is franchising. So, buying a franchise from McDonald's, Pizza Hut, Burger King, or lots of other kinds of stores. That requires a big investment, at least $200,000. And you spend 6 to 12 months getting started. And getting started, if you have a food franchise, it usually means that you got to find a place, a piece of real estate that you can purchase. You have to build your store. You have to hire people and get them trained and get the store in operation.
Yeah.
So if you're the one person who's doing all of this, you are the CEO, the chief operating officer, the HR manager, marketing manager, and everything else in between, procurement manager. So you're doing everything. You wear all hats. In the end, you can make reasonable profits because all of these companies have, as part of their franchising model, they offer training because they want you to succeed, and they have a system. And so you learn the system, you go through the training, and they coach you also, and they set you up and help you become a successful business. However, you're tied to your business. Eventually, the business winds up owning you. So it's not like you do own the business, but the business has requirements on you that make it somewhat less than fun. I met a guy down in West Virginia whose family owned a dairy farm. And it was a family operation. So the only problem with the dairy farm was that the cows need to be milked 365 days a year, twice a day. So you don't take vacations, not unless you can find somebody who's very reliable, take over your operation, and work it for the week or two that you're away. He said his parents passed the farm on to him, and the first thing he did was to get rid of it because he really wanted to have a different kind of lifestyle. So those are some examples of owning your own business. Investing money is a good option if you have money to invest. You do need money to start, and typically to derive good income, I would say it's the more the better. So you're probably not talking thousands of dollars; you're talking tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Okay.
Mutual funds are probably the safest way to do that. I dabbled in crypto for about 2-3 months this year and got burned a little bit. I decided before I went in that anything that I invested in that, I was willing to lose, and I lost the money. It is really the Wild West of finance. I mean, it's crazy. And there's an enormous amount of scamming and dishonesty that goes on there. So that's
Yeah.
And if you're going to invest in, for example, some of the coins like Bitcoin or Ethereum, you're basically doing day trading, I think, like you would do on the stock market.
Yeah.
Investments are ever guaranteed. Bitcoin started out at around $400 a coin or something like that, went to something like 400,000 a coin, and now it's back down considerably less. So that's the downside of investing. But if you invest wisely and in moderate to lower risk mutual funds, tell you a story about that. My ex-wife is a very conservative person. She hates risk. And we each had a small amount of money to invest in mutual funds as part of our retirement accounts. Um, I am much less risk adverse, more risk tolerant than she is. So I took about 60% of my funds and invested them in growth, what the stock market people call growth funds, which means more risk. And I parked some of it in low risk funds, but only about 20%. She sort of did the other side. She took almost all of her money and put it in low risk because she hates risk. And
Yeah.
over the 4 or 5 years that we were doing that, I consistently earned between $500 and $1,000 a year on my investments. And she either earned, somewhere a couple of $100 or lost money. And she was very frustrated by that. And I said, well, it really depends on how you invest your money. So that's something to understand about that. I want to talk about network marketing. It's another interesting potential source of income. Network marketing is actually a profession. It's also called MLM, multiple level marketing organization. And MLM's network marketing is a good deal, but you need to take a professional attitude about it. Treat it as a profession. Usually there's low investment. The one I'm currently involved in is $10 a year. That's pretty low.
Yeah.
You have lots of free
Yeah.
training. There's always products, because typically these network marketing organizations have a set of products that you can sell to people, and they also have you can get involved as a distributor of those products, so it can have it as a business aspect. And so there's always products and business systems to learn. The risk is low because these companies do guarantee their products, at least to some extent. Many of them
Yeah.
are 100%, no questions asked guarantees, which is the best. But the efforts, your results depend on your efforts and no one else's. Financial results are usually unlimited. In other words, if you work at this over a period of time and take a professional approach, you can grow and work as a distributor and grow an organization underneath you and do it well. You can become a millionaire. I have two friends here in Dallas who are actually my coaches who have achieved that level. They're marvelous people. If you're interested in network marketing, there's a great book which is called Go Pro by a guy named Eric Worre, Wrre, and that is the
Okay,
Bible.
can you mention the name of the book again?
Sure, it's Go Pro, Go Professional.
Okay,
And
Go Professional. Okay.
it's Go Pro. And then the author is Eric Worre, Worre. So it's Worre, rather.
Okay.
It's a good book, and all the stuff that he writes in there is good stuff. There's some other interesting organizations that I've encountered because I'm always looking for opportunities that are sort of quasi-network marketing and advertise themselves as providing MSIs. I'm not going to tell you who they are because I've not been involved with them enough to really understand how they work. But they promote themselves as providing multiple sources of income. Each source of income requires some modest investment. That's anywhere from $50 to perhaps $1,000. And it's very clear from the people who are making money in this that you can make a bunch of money. In fact, the one I'm thinking of claims that you can make up to $10,000 a month.
Wow.
$10,000 a month, which is significant. But they are very much like MLMs, the network marketing, in that you really have to learn the systems, pay the money, and then put in the effort. And it's all about attracting people to come in underneath you. That's how to grow the organization. So they all require learning their system and putting them to work. But I would classify them as being a good source of other income, along with network marketing. Probably two of the easiest, as long as you're willing to do learning and learn how to do it. So I think that's the presentation, and I guess I would ask if I have a slide on final thoughts and questions. So, which MSIs do you think you'd like to try? What ingredients are needed to make any MSI work? And the question you have to ask yourself is, how much risk are you willing to take? And the other thing, which is interesting, is what MSIs are available in your country. For example, the network marketing company that I work with, which is a great company, and I've been involved in about 4 or 5 of them. This is the best. Is not available in Africa or the Middle East. It is available in many Asian countries, though, which I find very
Yeah,
interesting. So you have to understand what opportunities are available in your country. So,
sure.
does anybody have any questions for me?
Yeah, about that risk taking. Okay, there's a comment direct in the Telegram group now because I'm streaming it also to the Telegram group. Okay, because a lot of youth, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Yeah, so a lot of youths are scared of taking risks because they do not want to lose in the money they end up making. So they always want to play it safe. So how do they overcome that fear of not taking risks, especially when it comes to delving into multiple sources of income?
Well, if you want to preserve the money that you've made, not spend a lot in the beginning, so not put in a big investment. The thing I would recommend would be network marketing. Uh, Eric Worre's book is less than $10, at least here in the U.S. And it will give you great information. If you follow it, you'll be successful. Um, the other thing is find a network marketing company where the fees are the annual fees are low, and the tools. Because most network marketing companies provide a lot of tools. A lot of them
Okay.
they actually charge for the tools. The
Okay.
one I happen to be with does not. So you want to take a look at the economics of belonging, of joining as a distributor.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
about the best I can offer you. Um, Starting your own business always involves some level of investment,
Yeah.
unless you already have everything you need to start, which is typically unusual. Um, but I think that network marketing is probably the easiest way to get in. And if you do that, uh, you will get a lot of help. That's the other thing that's important. So does that
Yeah.
answer the question, do you think?
Yeah, that's also it's a very good way, and it's a low risk kind of source of income that youth can definitely partake in.
Well, the other part of the low risk is that the companies do guarantee their products, and you should look at the guarantees very closely.
Okay,
Um,
okay,
so that if anybody doesn't like a product, you just send it back and they give you your money back. You
okay.
make
So that
sure they
there
do
should
that.
be a guarantee.
That's really ethical behavior.
Okay, great. So, what do you think about digital product, creating digital product with what they already know as a passive source of income?
Digital products,
Yeah,
such as
ebooks, video courses, since it's low risk
oh,
and
okay.
doesn't necessarily need a lot of things.
So essentially, you're becoming an author, right? If you do that, you're becoming an author
Yeah,
because you're authoring with ebooks, you're authoring
yeah,
your presentations. Um, hmm. I don't really know what's involved in terms of the investment expense on that. I have a very good friend in China who is an amazing holistic health coach, I guess I'd have to call her. And she I was looking, my connection through her is through a different messaging app called WeChat, which most Chinese people have,
okay,
WeChat. Um, and I was looking through her WeChat moments, which is, she puts pictures of things that she does out there. And she's very active. Um, she's probably doing an online event. She does live streams like this. She
okay,
goes to a lot of events and presents there. She's built a reputation for herself now. I don't. She's involved in the same network marketing company that I'm involved in. I don't know how she's doing, but she's probably doing fairly well. Um,
Yeah.
so, that is something that requires less investment, but I think it requires time to build your brand and get your name
Yeah.
out. I mean, you found that out, right?
Yeah.
How long have you been doing this? Over a year?
My personal brand.
Yeah, how long have you been building your personal brand?
Okay, a bit over a year now.
Yeah.
Over a year.
So you have to expect that. You have to expect that building, becoming a person, you've built your own brand and you have products that you can sell, be they ebooks or presentations or consulting, because that's another part of it, right? You can become a personal consultant. All of that takes time to do.
Sure.
And so that's part of the investment, time and
Okay.
learning. So we'll be learning involved, I'm sure. I've seen all the
Great.
ones that you've gone through, Esther, so I know. So another question?
Okay. Okay, they just said sent thank you to the group. There's no question. Again, it's more of thank you in the Telegram group. I'm streaming it there to the Telegram group also.
Okay, well, thank you for listening, and I appreciate the opportunity. I hope I've helped people.
Yeah, you have definitely. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to teach youth who are going to be seeing this now, who are seeing this now, and who are going to be seeing it as a replay later on.
Good. All right.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much.
So I'm out of here.
Yeah, sure.